Hey everyone, and welcome back to the second episode of Laying It Out. Thanks so much for joining us for our pilot, and we're glad you liked us enough to come back and listen to our second episode. A lot's happened since we dropped the pilot. It's been really exciting to be a part of the rollout and all the fun reception on social media, on Twitter and everything. For one, I doubled in Twitter followers the day that it got released, and if I had $1 for every time someone made the joke that I went from 1 to 2 followers, I would have $2. So, I know. So that's been a ton of fun, and I've been really enjoying becoming more of a part of the Ultimate community, especially online, since that's really the only way we can do it right now.
I've noticed you've started tweeting more.
I'm trying.
I feel some of them, I'm the only person that likes it, but some of them are good.
You're always the only person that likes my tweets, but it's okay. I'm trying to be funny.
It's fine. So today, this is also a special episode for us because we're doing our first interview, right?
Yeah. I'm super excited for you guys to hear this. This episode is kind of filmed in a little bit of a hodgepodge way based off of how we could record with our guest. But our guest is one of our very good friends from our club team that we played on last summer called Peep Show. We call him Pasta. His real name's Max. We're really excited to talk about mixed ultimate in the college community, how his college team navigates mixed, and some possible things that he thinks could be improved and maybe make mixed ultimate more of an institution within the college domain.
Yeah, it was really exciting talking to him. The other exciting thing that we completely missed that's happening is USAU announced that there's going to be a season this summer.
Woo!
Yeah, I was looking back on this. I was telling Scotti before we started recording. So we filmed our first episode on March 8th because we were like, oh, we got to get 2 episodes in the bin for recording. And I remember one of us mentioned in that episode, because I've listened to it 3 different times now, because I'm obsessed with how I sound. It was International Women's Day, so I looked that up, March 8th. USAU had made the announcement on March 9th.
Oh.
And then our first episode didn't release for 2 weeks after we recorded, and then this one isn't dropping till 2 weeks after that, so we're a whole month behind.
Yeah.
So
on current events.
We are not Ultiworld's current news podcast by any means. But yeah, it's exciting. I'm still not positive if I'm going to play club this summer yet. I have to see kind of how COVID numbers work. But what are you thinking about that? Do you think you'll play?
Well, I'm in such a weird situation with how my life is right now because, listeners, to get to know me a little better, I am currently living at home with my parents in upstate New York. Apparently there's a pretty good Ultimate scene around here. I actually wouldn't know since I got involved in Ultimate once I got to college and then tried my best to not come back here because there isn't really a lot to do. But I've been here to finish school and, now I'm kind of derping around until I move to New York City at some point this summer, and I don't really know when I'm going to move, and that's going to determine, what leagues I do, what clubs I do. Because it'll be a good way to meet people if I move to New York, but it's also kind of scary because that's really, there's a lot more people in terms of, COVID and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups, and I'm on a bunch of mailing lists, so I'm just kind of waiting for someone to be like, hey, do you want to play Ultimate? And I'll be like, yeah, I do. Actually, in the meantime... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say something I noticed about the bigger cities, at least near Philly where I am. They're doing not actual Ultimate leagues, but they do Ultimate or 4v4 or maybe just a disc golf league where you're competing against people. So there might be something like that in New York City, not necessarily 7v7.
Yeah.
Something.
I could see it. Yeah. To the point of missing Ultimate, it's been really nice out. Well, it was really nice out, and then it snowed last week because that's what happens in upstate New York is, you get a couple inches of snow in April, and then it's nice out again. So I've been working out because I feel some moral obligation to, do Ultimate stuff now that we have this podcast. So I just throw a Frisbee. I get all my Frisbees together, and I throw them out into space on, my high school soccer fields, and then I go run after them and call that a workout. It's very, it's fun.
Yeah, Frisbee being my only personality trait. When I started my new job last year, in like January, February, when it was starting to get warm enough, and I'm like, you know what? I can only play club because I'm out of college now. So I was like, I gotta really like work out, take this season like seriously. So I would do that same thing. I would take all of my Frisbees and go to an empty field by my apartment and then throw them. And then my coworkers, they'd be like, oh, what have you been up to? Like in your free time? I'm like, I just throw a disc by myself. And they're like, wow, that's really sad.
Yeah, my dad started coming throwing with me a little bit, but yeah, so it's like good to work on catching, and especially since his throws aren't as good as I'm used to being spoiled with College Ultimate, it's good to practice some harder to catch things, but
also just some cardio in there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been good. I'm hoping to maybe find some more friends since he actually like works and stuff. He's a little bit busier than I am, but
yeah.
That's how I'm, staying fit for the hopeful, actually the definite return of Ultimate, which we're so excited about.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Just hesitant, cautiously optimistic.
Yes,
which is my constant state of mind.
Yes. Running with a mask on. I've been doing some cardio with like a mask on, and like hasn't been bad. So I have faith that I will be fine for Ultimate. Since we recorded our pilot episode, then we had our Ulti World graphic designer make a cover photo for us, which you guys can see. It's beautiful. We love it. And we kind of Twitch bombed Lush, the graphic designer's Twitch stream where she was drawing our cover. And it was so funny because she was like really flustered. And we were like, hey, no, we just want to be your friend and like watch your Twitch stream. And it's like, it's not a big deal.
We also didn't mean to like bomb her on the, I don't like the term bomb, I guess, drop in on her.
Crash.
The day that she was finishing up our like podcast picture, we were finishing up actually recording the promotional segments that you've heard on Deep Look and us in the fields. So we were just like, oh, like I think you got like a notification on your phone, like, oh, Lucia's starting to stream. We should like check in on her. And then she was finishing up our logo. And we just thought it was really cool. There were people, not everyone in her comments is an Ultimate person, but some people in the comments were like, we're hyping it up. We're like, oh, there's this new podcast coming out. And it was a lot of fun. I have her socials we want to drop. Just like check her out on Twitch. She like does drawing stuff. She also does video games, and currently she's finishing up Breath of the Wild, which is the Legend of Zelda game for people that don't know. And if you don't know, you should play it because it's a lot of fun. But her Twitch is Small Bean Friend, but small is spelled SMOL. So kind of like that Tumblr 2015 vibes. And then her Twitch is almost the exact same, Small Bean Friend, but there's an underscore at the end of it. So yeah, check her out. She's one of Ulti World's graphic designers, and she made our logo, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
So please go check her out.
Yeah, all that good stuff. So yeah, shout out Lush. That was awesome. And now, next we have coming up our interview with our friend Pasta. It's a fantastic interview. We're really excited for you guys to hear it. He has a lot of really good insights about Mixed Ultimate and like the directions it can go in, and also some interesting commentary on how he spent most of his rookie year injured. So his perspective on Ultimate is a much more theoretical. I don't know. It's more focused on strategy rather than like intuition and like playing on the field. So it's like it was a really fun conversation to have with him, and we think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with that as well. But before we jump into that, we have a word from one of our first sponsors of this week's podcast. Well, I'll get into it. Our sponsor is our friend Benny. Without Benny, I probably would not have joined Ultimate because he is one of my Ireland homies that I hung out with for 8 weeks in a strange country where honestly, we kind of just walked around in the rain and drank a lot of beer, but it was an all-around great time. And once we got back to school, we were hanging out, and I was like, hey, I guess I'll join the team. Benny is our sponsor because he texted Pockets and asked how he could be a sponsor. And we said that we'd give him a shout out. So this one goes out to Benny Gallagher. Love you a long time, and we'll see you soon.
Hi, everyone. We're here with our friend Max, aka Pasta, who played Peep Show with us last summer. And he's here to talk a little bit about what playing mixed in college is like. So, as we're getting into it, Pasta, or Max, feels weird to say everyone's real names. Why don't you intro yourself a little bit, tell us how you found the sport, and then why you stayed, why you kept playing?
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Pockets. Chelsea. I don't know what to call you. But so I first heard of disc sports the summer after I graduated high school. So one of my teachers had an adult son who'd played elite club, and he came to the school just kind of tossing. And the gym teacher was like, "Hey guys, if you want to try out this sport called ultimate frisbee, come down. We got someone on the quad." So I went over and I started tossing with this guy, and he threw this one air bounce that basically like just went over the blades of grass. And I was like, well, holy shit, that's my sport. And so when I went to my college, Lafayette College, I knew that I wanted to,
Yeah, fuck Lafayette.
Lehigh is next
Big
weekend.
rivalry energy.
We got the rivalry game.
Oh, that doesn't
but-
feel right. Wait, so pause for any listeners that don't know. We went to Lehigh. Pasta goes to Lafayette. There is the longest played college football rivalry game, and I guess it's happening next week, even though it's supposed to happen in November.
Yeah, it's like the,
Yeah,
the
little-
156.
Well, I mean, 156?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So when I got to Lafayette, the club there isn't, so Lehigh's program is the men's team is D1, the women's team is D3. So that's a distinction that we can make. The Lafayette club is just a club sport. It's more of an intramural that plays other teams. So it's less, shall we say, structured, and more so based on if you can huck it, you can run for it, you can catch it. So it definitely enamored me. I played as many sports as I could get my hands on, but cross country was my one constant. So running down that disc, like the way that it floats in the air, if you get some good touch on it, there was nothing else like that for me. So I picked it up quickly, and I've been playing for 2.5 years now, and I'm involved in a lot of fun organizing stuff as well.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, it's crazy how.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, it's awesome how like involved you've gotten in 2 years. I was already impressed when we first met you at Peep Show because I thought that you've been playing for much longer. Yeah, so jumping from that, like what about the mixed college game? Like, do you like, what things do you not like, and what advantages do you think you get just playing as a guy?
Yeah, I would say there's a big difference with where you're introduced. So if you're introduced first to your gendered game, you kind of pick up that play style. So the way that I like to think of it is open tends to be explosive. Women's tends to be strategic and much more precise in the game planning. I'm talking more strategically. And then mixed tends to be a mixture of the two. Mixed, where you get to have a lot of fun strategy with. One thing we talked about with Peep Show was when we're trying to do roles, defensive handler roles. If you have a lady handler and a male handler, that makes it a lot harder for the defense to adjust because there are more, shall we say, like extra things to focus on. So one thing that college mixed as opposed to club mixed, I think, gives an interesting aspect of the team atmosphere, the team vibe. So off the field, there's a lot of dynamics to make sure that the team works. People feel comfortable. People feel like they're being engaged on the field, like everyone's getting thrown to equally. And so you have to do a lot of a fun, say, like one practice a week is ladies clinic, one practice is freshman clinic. You get to focus on different groups and you get to know a lot of different people. There are lots of different personalities.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
So
it's interesting that you comment on how women's, sorry for interrupting podcasts, but it's interesting that you comment on how women's is so meticulous, because I can definitely agree with that. And it was totally an eye-opener going from learning to play women's to mixed, because it is such a different game. And also, like, yeah, playing D-line, I tend to mark up on handlers just because that's what position I tend to do. And I haven't really thought about how it's different with a man and a woman handling versus, only women cutters. So I'll have to think about that the next time I'm on the field and how it affects how I play defense.
Yeah, I definitely
Oh
gosh,
sorry, you go Pockets.
We're all cutting over each other. I definitely noticed like a difference playing from college women's to mixed club, because I'm taller, a little bit taller, on the taller side, so I like to run deep. And I like to huck it a lot. But in mixed, that doesn't always translate well, especially when there's like taller guys and bigger guys that can like huck farther. So it was difficult trying to like switch my mindset, switch that skill set over.
Yeah, and to that comment, when you get a lot of, in college at least, a lot of new players, you tend to see people throwing to people that they think that they're like, right? So the guys that are kind of like frat bro-y tend to throw to only their guys that they know are going to catch it. And then people who aren't maybe as confident aren't going to try to challenge themselves and throw down the field. They want to just throw back to that handler, get that dish pass. So a lot of what our team tries to focus on is the enabling and the confidence to make your decisions and throw to the first available cut, regardless of who is making that cut. So focusing on the system. I tend to be more of a strategically minded person when I play. So it's a lot of fun trying to use mixed and design different game plays that you can apply both to mixed or also to the open and women's divisions respectively.
Yeah, we always do our Lehigh Lafayette Frisbee games. We mentioned that rivalry before, and it is really fun watching you guys play, because we just come and throw our men's and our women's teams together, but you guys, like, you're actually a team as one, and you're always having fun on the sideline. It's very cute to see. I love it.
Yeah.
So, as you're going to be a senior next year, correct? As we're going into. So what, especially after this pandemic, what goals, what ideas do you have to build up your team next fall?
Yeah. We are blessed to have a really great grade of freshmen this year. We kind of focused a lot on giving the new class an environment, a forum to talk. So we gave, there were freshman group chats. We had specific online things for the fall semester. So the way Lafayette was completely online last semester and is now partially in person this semester. Basically, people that wanted to be in person could come. So we've submitted mitigation plans and we're taking all the proper safety protocols that the CDC and the college requests of us. So we've been able to practice 3 days, 4 days a week this semester. So one thing we've seen is a lot of younger players stepping up. And if there's a full freshman line, you see 2 or 3 of them say, hey, so this is a vert stack. This is what we want to be running. The focus is on the fours. We want to make sure that we're running to the weak side, and lots of things like that. So I have a lot of confidence and a lot of excitement for the future of our team, where there's kind of a weird gap in the middle where we didn't get a lot of sophomores. And so my grade is going to be seniors. Their grade are going to be sophomores. We have a smaller junior grade, but we had that dynamic when I was a freshman as well. So it's interesting to see that cycle come again and get great new players. I think what we're going to try to do is take this summer and run kind of like an online optional Zoom course. So I'm putting together a lot of materials. I was setting this up last semester. And so one PowerPoint slide goes over like basic force information. One goes over all the details that you would want to prime a player to have. And so next year, when we have these practices and there are some time commitments, we can say, hey, check out week 4 of the summer course. And then they'll have that little bit of information. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. You don't have to go through it. But if you do, the players that are motivated to get better have all of the resources that they need. And we can spend more time at practice doing practice rather than just talking, kind of lecturing everyone.
Wow. I think that's really awesome that you guys were able to bring in so many new freshmen. I certainly cannot speak to how our school did it, but that's great that you guys have been able to play. I'm definitely jealous. I've been seeing Ulti World specifically sharing, different college teams like return to play, with the masks on and stuff. And I was like, man, I wish there was a league around here that at least, it was starting something up so that way maybe I could get some touches in. Instead, I'm, throwing a disc out to nothing and running after it. So that's my workout. And it would be really interesting to even talk more about, down the road what you do with your presentations, your Frisbee class as it would be over the summer.
Frisbee 101.
Because I know that that's something that, yeah, exactly. This is how you run a vert stack. That's something that we always try to explain and we go over and over. And I know there's a degree of like, you just have to do it to figure out, because every time it's a little bit different. But it'll be interesting. And I would be interested to talk more about that as we go on. So I think we already covered, what goals you have to build your team. I'm sure that the plan's the same to recruit, especially if you guys get to be in person and you expand your campus presence. But do you have any advice for any players starting mixed for the first time? Sometimes it seems like guys can be a little bit more confident, which is great. But any information that you might have or advice that you might have for girls that are joining the team too, and ways that guys can make them feel more welcome?
Yeah, great question. What I've found tends to be true almost 100% of the time is direct individual, not tutoring's the wrong word, but working with someone. It always leads to the best result. Like doing one-on-one training with someone always leads to more encoding of memory and learning the actual things that people need to do. So doing large team practices is great, but that's why I like to have that online optional option where people can go out and focus on their own skills. And then when they come to practice, they have specific questions and you can see where maybe people might have been confused. In terms of the social atmosphere of playing, I think it's really important to provide spaces for people. So I was mentioning ladies clinics, freshman clinics earlier. Our team has found that ladies clinic has been I can't speak to it personally, but I've been told by many people, it's a great bonding experience for people. And it's a great experience for people that only have mixed access to see what it's like to play with players just of your gender and have a different atmosphere, some different neurochemicals on the field.
Yeah, you were mentioning before you have like 3-4 practices a week now this semester. When you do those clinics, does it take up an entire practice or is it only like a portion of that practice? Just wondering.
Yeah, so in the past, without COVID restrictions, what we've done is we've brought in lady alumni. So one player is Christine Carr. She plays for Broad City. She's a great person, really good at teaching. And so she brings her teammates and they kind of run from like, hey, this is what we've experienced playing at our level. We've talked to Erin Maroka, who also commentates for USAU. She wanted to come in this year, but obviously that didn't work. So what we've done with COVID is we dedicated a full practice to ladies clinic. And we said, so we're allowed to have 20 people on a field at a time, and we can have 2 fields on the D1 football field. So what we've been doing is having like 2 fields running different practices. And so we decided that it was worth the investment of just scrapping a practice one day and then doing 2 regular practices at the risk of over explaining how our practices work. We have 3 regular practices on the weekdays where we go over concepts, and then the weekends are a tournament day and like a cool down goaltimate day. And so we took one of those weekdays and turned it into a specific clinic. So ladies clinic, freshman clinic, flicks, anything like that. So we work on a specific skill on that practice. And then the other two, we work on enforcing or introducing those ideas.
Yeah, I think the clinics idea is really
Cool.
good. Scotti and I, this episode hasn't come out yet, but we were talking about just ideas we have for running practices. And we always thought it was, or at least from my perspective, being a captain for Lehigh before, I always thought it was difficult to kind of like split up drills based on like skill level or different things. But it's cool that you guys got that clinic process down. And I think it really helps you, especially for that women's clinic. So we talked a lot about your college mix experience, but we know you from good old Peep Show. So when it comes to club, do you have that same preference towards mix? Do you prefer open? Well, I guess you talked about it a little bit where you prefer open, but what are, I guess, what club, like what about mixed club do you like? And what reasons do you have for choosing a specific club team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I haven't played open ever. Like I've never really had that opportunity because 3/4 of a year into playing Ultimate, I tore my labrum, and that pretty much cut short my competitive aspect. And I'm still in physical therapy for that. So I'm still not at 100%. So I like to say, like, I never knew the game before I was able to play it. So the reason I think I prefer mixed is what I should say. I think that I'll just restart for the editor. I think I prefer mixed mostly because of, like I said, the strategy and the opportunities to meet so many different people. I think open can tend to be a continuation, at least at the club level, of what the college scene was like, having just men on your team. It kind of machismo atmosphere for a few teams. There are a few teams that I know are more settled, but there's a lot of passion, shall we say, in that division, and a lot of spiking, a lot of physical contact. So my experience with
Whoa!
open has
Are
been...
you an anti-spiker? Do we have an anti-spiker?
Are we going to talk about spiking?
I'm not distinctly anti-spiking. I'm anti-spiking it on your opponent's feet. I like respect.
Well, I think everyone.
Like a nice spike, but yeah. If you don't taco the disc, I have no issue.
We spike respectfully on laying it out.
No, I'm not putting us in this argument. I've seen what happened to people on Twitter.
Yeah, we're not. Okay, yeah, we're not in this argument. We like spiked seltzers.
Yes.
That's what we like.
Truth.
Anyway, we digress.
Yeah, I think the mix scene, you tend to get a mix where people's atmospheres and tendencies tend to balance each other out, and so you don't get too much guy energy, but you also don't get too much girl energy. And I've been told that there are some women's teams that can get a little frustrating to be around if you aren't necessarily in tune with social politics and things like that. So I think all the divisions have their ups. I think all the divisions have their downsides. I tend to be someone that likes to take that middle option, you get a bit of both worlds. So I would say I'm firmly within mixed. When I'm considering a specific team, I think I like to look at the actual atmosphere of the team. So AMP is the local big boy mixed team in my area where they tend to take home
That's a big boy team.
Yeah, I mean, gender neutral boy in this case, but I don't know if you can actually say that. Yeah, they tend to take home the trophies. And if you look at their team atmosphere, Patrick Sherlock is the coach. He tends to run a really a tight ship in the sense of on the field, but pretty loose on the sidelines. They have, big inflatable flamingo on the sideline. They toss balls after every point. After you get scored on the D-line, after you score on the O-line, they always cheer. So no matter what, even if you're getting what your expectation is, you're still getting amped up, no pun intended. you're getting everything in order, you're getting the machine rolling. And so I like that type of atmosphere as opposed to just getting angry, getting salty that you're getting scored on, things like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that fun atmosphere. I think that was our experience on Peep Show.
Yeah.
Uh, listeners, I'm a sad woman. I would drive summer of 2019. I would drive 3 hours to go to Peep Show practice, and we didn't even make it to regionals.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
We did our best.
We were very close. We lost in the game to go.
On Universe.
Yeah.
Twice in a row. We lost Universe twice in a
Universe.
row or at sectionals.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I do like that fun atmosphere of the mixed team.
One thing that I actually didn't really think about because I was, more focused on myself as anyone in college tends to be while we were playing Peep Show. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you tear your labrum at a Peep Show tournament, or was it like kind of concurrent with the practices? Because I remember you being in a sling for a while.
Yeah, so after maybe the 5th Peep Show practice, I went up to the Poconos with some friends, and we were playing like midnight beach volleyball. And I just fully overextended, laid out backwards, and I tried to force it, and I just felt a pop, and I didn't really sleep for the next 3 days. So I kind of figured I did something bad. But on Peep Show, I definitely was the team ambulance. Every time people dislocated an arm or like had to go to the hospital,
That's what it
driving.
is.
So that might be the association you have.
That's what it is.
One.
Yep, there it is.
It might have been. It was definitely the same day. I don't know. I don't think it was the same game.
It was our first tournament.
Antonio dislocated his shoulder, and then Louise dislocated her elbow, which was bad.
Just broke her arm.
Broke it.
If you look at the X-ray, it was so disturbing.
Oh.
Yeah, one after another. Like I got back from driving Tony, and they were like, "By the way," yeah.
You were a hero. Anyway, so I one thing that I didn't think about is that the fact that you tore your labrum, that kind of forced you to be sidelined, and how you kept mentioning that makes you a strategic player rather than like what I feel like a lot of people that are on the field all the time, you kind of just go by intuition and instinct and sometimes ego to be the first cut and always, be the first one to get the disc. So what takeaways did you get from spending so much time watching, and how do you think that will improve you as a player once you finally get to play again for real?
Yeah.
And actually, any advice that you'd like to offer? The whole 9 yards. Just talk about that. I don't know.
That's a good question. That's a big question. I'm honestly not sure how it's necessarily going to help me as a player going forward in the sense of like change my style of play, because I think that always is how I've been, and that would have been the path that I took. Like even before I tore the labrum, I was watching 3 games of tape a week at the least. But I like intake of information. I like sorting it, and I like thinking about, okay, this is what they tend to do. This is what they tend to do. I love watching different play styles. So getting the opportunity to be kind of like a sideline coach in my first year of playing definitely attuned me to the advantage of having a system on the field. The teams that have game plans, the teams that know what they're going to do and have practiced it, generally tend to be way better off than the teams that kind of wing it, because you still have that opportunity of improv with the system, but then you know what the next best look would be, and you kind of get an idea of what the defense might think the next best look is. I would say watching tape to me is as important as throwing every day. I think that it's exercising a different type of muscle. But I also think watching tape with purpose is more important. So I'm a film and media studies minor. And so what that's given me, not to sound pretentious, but like I tend to break apart film at its basest level. So I'm like, okay, this is where this specific aspect is coming from. This is where the audio is coming from. So when I'm watching film, I'm looking at all the players, and I can watch through one time for like narrative, then I can watch through one time for a specific player, then I can watch through for like what the first pull play was, like what their tendency is as a team. So I think there's just so much valuable information there once you tend to look at that. One thing that I can say that's interesting is watching is not learning. I know what the next best look is a lot of times, but I can't necessarily guard it, or I can't necessarily hit that look because I haven't developed that quick twitch muscle memory. So that's one thing where I'm like, oh, woe is me, if only I could play right now. But I think it really helps attune you to what's important to focus on when you're training, like mindfulness focus, and knowing, okay, so this is generally like, this is the throw that most people make, like this middle, like 20-yard throw with some touch. The most boring throw to practice, 80% of the time, that's the throw that people are throwing. Things like that. It helps me look holistically.
I would argue against you there and say that watching is part of learning. Because like, why do you think you go to college, get more knowledge, and then you go to the real world, and then you have to apply it? Like, it sucks that you're having to do one of that, the watching part, all at once, and the rest of us are kind of all in that, stuck in that watching mode. I know since COVID started, I have been watching a lot of film over and over and over again. And now I have like new strategies and new thoughts like to bring to the field. But I think it's good to have like a combination of the two, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, you need to be an active watcher rather than like, you can't just like be on the sideline and like say that you're watching,
Right.
you know, watch what the captain does, watch what the main handler does, and then after the point say like, why did you make that decision?
Yeah.
You know, it's that type of thing.
I would say it watching a lot of film helps if you're trying to play at a high level. Watching some film helps tremendously if you're just trying to play at any level. I think when you're watching a large amount, that develops kind of a subconscious playbook where if you know what you're supposed to be doing, it's just that much faster where you know, okay, this is the cut that I should make, or this is the point in the stall where I should throw this throw. It allows for faster decisions, and I think at that higher level, those split seconds do matter quite a large amount.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know there's talks like bringing this to the high level. People are like, oh, AUDL should bring the stall count down to 6 or whatever. And at my skill level, I could never even imagine having to do a stall count of 6. But they're there. They're like mere seconds mean so much to them at that high level.
Yeah. If you watch the Buzz Bullets play, they don't get a stall higher than 3 or 4 usually on most of their throws.
Mm.
Interesting.
I think we're moving on maybe to the last portion of this pasta. You mentioned earlier before that you're getting more involved in the Frisbee scene outside of college. You're on the LVU, Lehigh Valley, for people that don't know, Ultimate board. So why don't you talk a little bit about what that's like as a college student, and then your plans for expanding the college mixed division?
Sure, yeah. Being on the board of LVU is a great opportunity for me. There was someone who was the president of Lafayette's team that was basically in my position, and then he graduated, and so there were vacancies on the board, and I was like, well, I could be the token college student. I like doing work for fun. So what that's helped me is getting, so I get that sideline coach experience with the tape and with not being able to play as much. With this, I kind of get an administrator or like a tournament designer's perspective, more of an organizational perspective. So I get to right now plan summer league during the possible fall of Corona, at least the increase of vaccinations, and that is just a nightmare of trying to plan for contingencies, but it's definitely preparing me for anything that I might face in the future where I'm like, okay, I need to make sure that this is covered, And it really teaches me the importance of delegating work and having good frameworks and knowing what you want to be doing rather than just kind of winging it as you might do an essay at 11 p.m.
Oh, yeah, that college student life.
Another great opportunity that the LVU board provides me is the ability to serve on the Pennsylvania state-based organization board, where I kind of get a taste of statewide level organization as well as just county district level. So one thing that I'm interested in working with the director of the PA SBO is Christy Laurie, great person. Shout out to Christy. She was on Ulti World earlier.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think she was on a talk with Eisenhood. But
Deep
Look,
Look.
exactly, with Keith Rayner as well.
There you go.
And one thing that I'm trying to work on with her is organizing the Pennsylvania college scene, basically. So we were the first state-based organization to hold like a college Zoom where we invited all of the colleges that we know have D1, D3 club, any type of team. And then we kind of organized them by both attendance and by their division. So D1, D3 mixed, or D1, D3 club, or by open women's mixed. And so we kind of have this framework of what the colleges look like in the area. We also have West Virginia thrown in there because West Virginia doesn't have a state-based org. And so we have that resource. And I think that that's a great opportunity to try to organize the mix scene, because what that is right now for at least Lafayette, for the club mixed division, is the presidents, the captains of these colleges reach out to other colleges. So Lafayette talks to Eastern Stroudsburg University. They talk to Dickinson, Kutztown. They're just kind of like, hey, are you guys doing a tournament this weekend? Or are you guys doing anything in August or stuff like that? And it tends to be a few weeks before the competition it gets organized and put together. You get an informal kind of, it's like a pickup 8-team, 10-team tournament where the winner gets bragging rights. So I think that there's a really great opportunity to use Pennsylvania as kind of a guinea pig mixed D1, D3 scene, where we have maybe not even divisions yet, but we have an official sponsored sectionals and regionals state competition where we can kind of look at what it might be like getting some of these unofficial clubs some real recognition. Because a lot of the complaints a lot of these colleges had is the schools don't take them as seriously as they should for programs. They're kind of like, well, we have D1 soccer, we have D1 football, Ultimate Frisbee maybe gets the field at 11 p.m. Like our practices, Lafayette's practices this semester were anywhere from 10 to midnight or 11 to 1, or like we're in the dead of the night. So if we get more of an official organization at the state level, I think that we have a lot of opportunities at the college level.
Yeah, no, that would be really cool. Lehigh, we're not forced year round to practice at 11 p.m. We're lucky, but we do get the tailgating fields, which are bumpy and people drive on them. So, yeah, no, Frisbee usually gets the short end of the stick at universities.
What is interesting, and I'm sure we should have pushed this towards the beginning of the interview, because one of the main reasons why Pockets and I wanted to talk about mixed ultimate and its structure or lack thereof is just because there is, like, as I was thinking about it, you know, with high school track, there's more glory in high school track than it feels like in college track with how much is televised. Sure. And it feels like similar with college ultimate, you know, but you don't even really get that for mixed. Mixed club teams, AMP, you know, mixtape, Sockeye. Actually, that's not mixed.
Sockeye's
Sockeye's not. Sorry, that's my bad. I don't know anything. Okay, and Dragon Thrust. They get a lot of like traction, you know, I guess in the ultimate world. Sure. But it kind of stinks that you guys don't get the same at the college level. So It would be awesome to see like actual tournaments pop up.
Yeah, the fall.
For you guys
The fall
to have
is
the
supposed to
opportunity
be
to do
when
nationals.
USAU hosts their mixed division, but that's changing this year. They're deciding to do the single gendered women's and open.
Yeah, and I mean, I see a lot of advantage for USAU in doing this as well, because there are some great prospects in this mixed club scene that don't really go anywhere because they don't have that pipeline towards, say, like Colorado's Johnny Bravo or the Triangle area's Ring of Fire. Like, they don't have these pipelines for major teams as much as they might have if there were an official USAU mixed division. And if there's an official USA mixed division, there are more USAU memberships being purchased so that there are more competitions and more people getting involved. And then you tell your friend about this fun club that you get to do like real stuff at this like organized thing. I think it's got a lot of snowball rolling down the hill.
Yeah, that's stonks.
That's stonks right there, baby.
Okay.
For sure.
Oh, that sounds super exciting. Do you have a contact, or does the PA board have a contact that maybe some college teams that you weren't aware of, or maybe some New Jersey teams that are across the border that could reach out to you and get a part of this?
I mean, do you want me to give you the SBO like Twitter, email, or are you talking about more so like places that teams can contact us, or us contacting teams?
Teams to contact you. Teams to contact you.
Yeah.
And we can even tweet about it following the release of this episode.
Yeah, I can give you the specific SBO like email and those information once I look them up.
Okay, we can
I think Twitter is probably the best medium for people to reach out.
Twitter, you said?
Yeah. Teams that have Twitters
Sounds
are
good.
teams that are found.
We'll on our Twitter at laying_it_out. But you can follow that, and we'll make sure to promote it there so everyone else can find it. And last but not least, one more question. This is a big one. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
See, here's the thing, right? If you have a proper hot dog, the bun is connected at the bottom. And I feel like that disqualifies the general definition of one bun, two bun to make a sandwich. So my take is that...
So is a hot dog a taco?
See, you have a stronger argument for taco, in my opinion.
Ah, okay. So pasta, you heard it here first.
Taco is
pasta
bread,
is a
meat,
taco.
Veggies.
Pasta says a hot dog is a taco. Unpack that one as you will.
And I stand by it.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for being our first official guest on Laying It Out. And to all our listeners, Pasta will be joining us for a very fun subscribers only segment, Laying It Out's first ever subscribers only. So lots of pioneering here going on. Yeah,
thanks for joining
Thank you.
us, Pasta.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the subscribers only segment.
All right, before we get into our next segment, we have a second quote-unquote sponsor who is just another one of our friends who texted me and was like, hey, how do I sponsor the podcast? They suggested Venmoing me $5 and then never did. But
you can send me $5.
No, don't. Please don't Venmo us money. You don't have to. Definitely don't have to. But this one goes out to Lubes. So Lubes is someone who started off as a teammate, became a coach, and became a very good friend of ours. So we just wanted to shout out Lubes. We were kind of hinting at this podcast to him before I think we even got it, right?
Yeah, I think he was one of the first people we were like in the first round of interviews. We were like, we need content.
Yeah, so we one of our podcast episode ideas, like we have a nice little document with different bullet points and all this information. One of them just says lubes. Just having him on and letting him rant about whatever he wants for an hour. But yeah, no, I think he's a big reason that I got excited to play club. He was one of the captains of the initial season of Peep Show in 2018. Yeah, 2018. Also, my junior year, when he was our coach, I was injured on the sideline for most of that spring semester, and he made just kind of like having to be on the sideline and not getting to play like bearable. Like we'd be dancing on the sideline together, he making jokes, and it was just like he made me not lose that interest in frisbee even when I had my long-term injury. Sorry. So just kind of like how Benny was your inspiration to start playing frisbee, Lubes is my inspiration to keep going on with it. So a little shout out to him for, one, just like being there the past few years, and then two, listening to the podcast.
So thank you, Lubes.
Yeah. But going a little throwback to that interview we just did. Speaking of fall college ultimate, someone in this podcast has their college eligibility still with them. So, Scotti.
I do. Yeah. So USAU announced possible fall college nationals over the summer. Obviously, it depends on if your school will let you go, and who knows, how Lehigh specifically will handle our team doing something like that. That's not for me to even work on because that's not my territory, but I'm eligible to play. It is open to 2020 and 2021 grads as well. I'm kind of in between. I was supposed to have that victory lap of a fifth year, one semester. I was taking 10 credits. I was doing nothing. Would have been amazing if I was in person and we could have played Ultimate, but can't really think too much about that now. So would I go back and play if like everything else was together? And again, that's like kind of it depends. It might determine when I move to the city, because I know like signing leases kind of is pretty short. Like there's a pretty short term between signing the lease and then actually starting it. You really only sign a lease a month in advance. I need to figure out who I'm going to live with, but that's its own thing. That's its own stressor that I talked to my therapist about. And we're not going to talk about it here. Anyways, so I would totally go back and play, I think. I mean, I was so devastated to lose that semester. Our team was so good, and we lost like a really solid group of seniors from like including my grade, or that were my grade. And if maybe even a third of them could come back, and like with how much the B team on our team was able to help all those girls like really accelerate their development as rookies, I think we might do pretty well. It'd be really fun to see. It'd be really fun to be involved. It'd be fun to go and like be there for like one of the first tournaments, even if, like if we get to go report on it for Ultiworld, that'd be awesome as well. But it would be, I think, more fun to play.
If I go report on it, I'm going to be so biased.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little bit too close to home right now, but it's like a really fun thing to think about. And there hasn't really been any discussion within our team about like the realities of it. So like we'll have to see what happens when we get there. But if we're going to just wildly theorize, in theory, I would go back and play if they'd have me. So that's where that goes.
But knowing, just like, I don't know how many schools USA put in the rules that if the school allows you, you don't have to be a current student to go back as long as you were in that graduation period, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I just don't know how many schools are going to allow alumni to come back and play. It just seems like there's a lot of legal issues that could be involved.
It's so, weird and vague. And I guess especially because, my grade when we left, everyone was talking about like reunion stuff and this and that. But that was when we thought that this would only be going on for 2 weeks. And here we are a year later. And, Lehigh's going to have an in-person graduation that people can come back and go to. And I'm going to go walk. I'm going to wear the shower curtain and the hat and sit in the field and boil And I'll probably have to wear a mask too, so that's going to be super cozy in the middle
You're
of
gonna get a
May in
fun
Pennsylvania.
sunburn. When I
Actually,
graduated,
yeah, that sunburn.
well, when I graduated, I got the cap sunburn, so it was very white up here because, as you can see, now that I'm in front of a nice window, listeners, I'm describing there. If I'm like halfway on my forehead, the upper half was very, very white, and then the bottom half above my eyebrows was very, very red. So it wasn't a good look. And then imagine
I was gonna say,
mask burn on top of it.
oh, well, I guess that it's only like a stripe because I was gonna say
Raccoon.
like the good thing about wearing a cap and gown is at least it keeps you covered because like every time I go out in the sun, people are like, "Why are you wearing?" Especially like for ultimate tournaments, I wear like a long sleeve jersey with the hood, like the sun hood, and like the 3/4 length tights, and it's like 100 degrees for like club practice. And my friends that are not ultimate are like, why do you dress like this? And I'm like, literally just because I don't want the sun to see my skin because I get burned and it is awful. And so that like, at least then I'm covered with the cap and gown. At your graduation that I attended with the guy that I was dating that time, I got so sunburned. Like, I was sitting at dinner with his family, and we were just watching my skin get redder and redder, and I was like, this is a great first impression for me to just, like, be a liability to, like, go out in the sun. But it is what it is, you know? So that's what I was thinking, is as long as I can handle, like, the raccoon burn. The rest of my body, not so much.
Kind of like a Bucky Barnes type, where he has that black... the Winter Soldier has that black like mask across his face, except you're red.
Perfect. That's exactly what I want. Superhero. Yes.
So you're a if you're allowed back and it's not too hard to get there from New York City, you would play in the fall.
Yeah, it's like in all other things, pretending that's not happening. In an ideal world. Yes, I'd go back. I'd think about it. So.
Okay. Pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I think we're moving on to our reoccurring segment that we're trying to get started.
Yes.
Is the happy moments segment. Do you have a happy moment for the past? Because it's been almost a month since we last recorded. So do you have anything that happened in the past month or something that's coming up?
Anything specifically? Well, things that are coming up. In May, I'm gonna get to graduate, but that's not for another, I think 6 episodes.
Almost 2 months.
Yeah, so that's exciting. It is almost the end of tax season, and I am currently like temping as an administrative assistant at an accounting firm. And April 15th, I know the IRS extended the tax deadline, but April 15th is coming up real soon, so that means I'm going to be done doing that like silly little job where I don't really do anything. It's just kind of, something to do with my time, and like money to save up, but that's... The end of tax season is coming up, and if you need any tax advice, I might be able to provide it. Specifically, if you just have a W-2, you can do your taxes for free online.
Are you legally allowed to say that? That you have advice? Or don't you have to be a CPA or something?
I can just no, I don't know. I think I'm not a CPA, and I can't be like, oh, this is how much money you'll make, as I don't know. But I can tell you, like, what I did, how I filed my taxes. That's what I did. So, like, aside from that, I'm like, okay, then you just put numbers in boxes and then you hit calculate.
Yeah, I did. I guess my free advice for taxes, because we're becoming a tax podcast. What's it called? TurboTax. I think if you make under a certain amount of income and your taxes aren't going to be too complicated, you can do it for free.
Yeah. That's exactly what H&R Block does too. You need only a W-2. I had a 1099 from doing DoorDash because that's like a self-employment thing. So if you're doing DoorDash, your taxes are going to be a little more complicated. Sorry. But you can also expense the gas, and you can, not have to pay as much in taxes. So
why are we offering this advice? Is this what happens when you turn 22, 23?
Then you just talk about taxes. This is what being an adult is.
Taxes.
Anyway, that's my happy news. Soon I will not be thinking about taxes. How about you, Pockets? Do you have anything less boring going on?
No. But I do have different boring news. Well, I guess it's exciting. It's exciting. But I think this is happy news for a lot of people. The day this comes out, I will be getting my first dose of the COVID vaccine.
Woo!
And
that
I
is
say
exciting.
First dose. I'm not exactly sure which one I'm getting because my mother was the one that signed me up. My mother is the one that signed me up. She sent me a text, but it never got to my phone. There was some glitch. So I don't know which one I'm getting. I'm just going to show up.
Actually, that is not to piggyback, but I also got my first dose of the COVID vaccine. I got Moderna. I was really sick for like 6 hours afterwards, but it doesn't help that
Only
I also got
6 hours, though.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I just I was just kind of a mess because then I also got a cavity filled, and so like half my face was numb, and I had like a fever, and I had chills, and I just wanted to go to bed, but I I needed to do some work for my second job, and anyway, so that's but you know what? It's worth it because 6 hours in the grand scheme of things of like getting out of a international pandemic. I think that's a double on top. I think that means the same thing. Hey, I'll take it. And COVID is real, and so is science. But
so yeah, that's
very
our
exciting
happy news. And the other thing, as I pull up my phone, we might start doing because we're releasing every other week, and because we crave attention from strangers.
Positive attention, though.
Positive attention, yes. Is a poll every other week. And I'm bringing this up because I won this past week. We sent out a poll that was like, to fill the PS voids in your heart today, help us decide who has better taste. Let's defend our picks first.
Okay. Okay.
So I picked Pedro Pascal because...
Understandable.
Yes, understandable.
It's a bulletproof pick.
Yeah, Chris Evans as well, because I really like people in superhero costumes. I know The Mandalorian isn't really a superhero, but it's close. And so, And then I also picked Gumby. Because I like my men skinny and tall, like a piece of clay that you could just mold.
Ew. But you know what? I'm not going to bully your picks because that was for the internet to choose. I picked Billy Joe Armstrong, who is the lead singer of the band Green Day, because I am goth, I guess. Just a little bit. Like, I don't know. I didn't have like a full emo phase, and I guess I'm still riding the tails on that. And I love Green Day, and I love Billy Joe Armstrong, and I love a man in eyeliner. On the complete other side of the coin, I picked Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec, which is ridiculous because I was just complaining about how much I hate doing taxes, and he's literally an accountant. But I think he's fun and nerdy.
You want him to do the taxes for you.
That way I don't have to do my own taxes. Yes.
Can this podcast title be just We Discuss Taxes?
Sure, I'll let Charlie know. Anyway, I picked him because he's like fun and nerdy, and I don't know, I guess I also love Parks and Rec. I think I watched that show like all the way through like 4 times during the course of my senior year because my friends that I lived with all like had the TV on. Just we all would just sit on the couch and like watch whatever like TV just played in the background. Mm-hmm. So Parks and Rec has a soft spot in my heart. And then finally I picked Iron Man because I think he's cool and fun, and
you hate me.
And I hate you, yeah, because we are always going through the debate of if we are Captain America and Iron Man or Captain America and Bucky. And I think we're Captain America and Iron Man.
Yeah, probably.
And yeah, and then of course the guy that I'm seeing was like, "Hey, MIT, I also went there," and I was like, "No, it's not a parallel that we're drawing," but I guess I'll shout that out. So,
I guess you also like the dark-haired men.
Yeah. So anyway, there was a poll. You can make fun. You can roast us.
I won.
How many
You only
votes
had
did we get?
16. I don't know how to do math. Here, let me try and do some quick math. Yeah, okay, I won by 4 votes, so I got 10 total. I think 2 of them were me. Someone voted on our... Oh no, I'm dumb. Did you vote on a different account?
I voted on my own. No, I didn't. Did you vote on the Laying It Out account?
No, but I voted on my other account that I have for some reason that I will not disclose what it is. But I still won by at least 3 points then. So yeah, check us out next week for our another poll.
Which is going to be something equally as obscure and ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not even going to be like entertaining for you, but we want to do it.
Because it's entertaining for us. Yeah, actually, speaking of socials, if you want to follow us or whatever, tweet at us, interact with us, we're pretty available to, I don't know, just
all
spam on Twitter.
About is this podcast?
Yeah, pretty much.
Constantly checking on this.
Yes, we talk about it to each other pretty much constantly. So definitely, if you want to join the conversation, tell us what you liked and stuff. We're absolutely going to be receptive to positive feedback. Any negative feedback, I guess you could DM me and be like, shut up. And I'll be like, I'll be sad. But I'm at Scotti Dempsey. You can see it on the name and you can click on our podcast and I'm tagged there.
Our actual podcast Twitter is laying_it_out on Twitter. And then our personals are in there because if I say mine, people are not going to know how to spell it. Everyone pronounces it wrong. It's fine.
So, yeah, definitely feel free to interact with us. We have an email also. You can send us happy news there.
Laying it out at ultiworld.com. There are no underscores there, which is fun. Yeah,
it is fun.
I've been visual people. I've been putting my hands on my hips this entire episode. I don't know why. I'm in a power stance.
She's stanced.
Yeah.
So
reach out to us.
Yeah, definitely. We're super happy to hear from you guys, from all our listeners. We're excited to reiterate, we're excited to be here and be a part of the Ultimate community. So, with all that said, I think that wraps up our second episode of Laying It Out. Thanks so much for tuning in again. We'll see you in 2 weeks on April 20th to discuss, what we decide to discuss that week. And we've got a lot of really exciting stuff lined up for you guys. There's some fun collabs coming up and
And also, if you are an Ultiworld subscriber, this week we have a subscribers only segment where we sit down with Pasta, who we interviewed earlier, and we do a little name game that I came up with.
Yeah, it's very fun. Lots of laughs. I'm sure you guys are going to love it. So with that, I've been Scotti Dempsey.
I'm Chelsea Pockets.
And we will catch you on the flip.
We sit on